Your brain is not struggling to attract abundance. It is actively filtering it out. Right now, every single second of every day. The life you want is already around you. Your brain just cannot see it. And here is what nobody in the self-help industry wants to admit. The reason has nothing to do with your vision boards, your affirmations, or how hard you are trying. It has everything to do with a measurable neurological state your brain uses to decide what reality you live in. In this video, I am going to walk you through the exact science behind what researchers call the 3-minute threshold, a specific window of time that can permanently recalibrate what your brain lets into your awareness. 3 minutes changes everything, and I will reveal something that neuroscientists discovered about this window, something the entire law of attraction industry has been getting completely wrong. Stay with me, because by the end, you will not just understand frequency. You will know exactly how to hold it, and why you have been failing to hold it without even realizing it. Let us start with something they never taught you in school. You are not solid matter walking through an empty world. You are a living electromagnetic field, pulsing at a measurable frequency every single second of your life. You are broadcasting energy. This is not spiritual poetry. This is basic physics. Your heart alone generates an electromagnetic field that extends 3 to 4 feet outside your body, and your nervous system broadcasts that signal like a radio tower, constantly, whether you choose it or not. Now here is where it gets interesting. Your internal emotional state, what you actually feel, determines the quality of that broadcast. High-frequency emotions like gratitude, awe, and love produce coherent, organized electromagnetic waves. Low-frequency emotions like chronic fear, resentment, and scarcity produce chaotic, fragmented signals. Scientists at the Heart Math Institute spent decades measuring this in clinical settings. And what they found is that the quality of your internal signal does not just affect your mood. It affects what your brain is literally capable of perceiving in the world around you. When your frequency is low, your awareness shrinks. When it is high, your perception expands dramatically. The question is, what are you broadcasting right now? And do you actually have the power to change it deliberately? Because what I am about to show you is the neuroscience behind why most people cannot answer yes to that second question. And the reason is far darker than you think. But this next one, this is the one that kept me up at night when I first understood it. Most people think emotions are just feelings, soft things, subjective experiences that do not really change anything in the physical world. Emotions are not feelings. They are chemical instructions sent to every cell in your body. And those instructions determine, at a biological level, what your brain can and cannot access in any given moment. When you sustain a high-frequency emotion for even a few minutes, your brain releases a cascade of 3 specific neurochemicals. 1, serotonin, the signal of safety and expansion that opens your perception. 2, oxytocin, the bonding chemical that sharpens your social and opportunity awareness. 3, dopamine, the reward signal that accelerates focus, motivation, and pattern recognition. This is your brain switching into what neuroscientists call a broadened cognitive state, a mode where your perception literally widens, your problem-solving accelerates, and your ability to notice connections increases dramatically. When you are running on low-frequency emotions, anxiety, frustration, scarcity, your brain is locked in tunnel vision. It can only see threats. It filters out opportunities, serendipitous connections, and moments of luck happening right in front of you. But when you shift into high frequency, those things do not suddenly appear. They were always there. Your brain just could not see them. If this is already changing how you understand your own mind, hit like and subscribe to keep reprogramming these mental blocks with me. Because what comes next is the mechanism that makes all of this real. And it is something most people will never discover. Have you ever bought a new car, or even just thought seriously about buying one? And then suddenly you see that exact model everywhere, same color, same trim, on every block. You drive streets you have driven for years, and now that car is impossible to miss. Did those cars suddenly appear? Always there. You just updated your filter. That filter has a name. It is called the reticular activating system, the RAS, and it is the single most important piece of mental hardware you possess, because it literally decides which reality you live in. Here is how it works. Your brain receives approximately 11 million bits of information per second through your senses. Your conscious mind can only process about 50 of those bits. The RAS is the gatekeeper. It decides which 50 make it through to your awareness. And what does it use to make that decision? Your dominant emotional frequency. If you are chronically stressed, your RAS filters for threats, obstacles, and problems, because that is what your emotional state is asking it to find. If you are sustained in gratitude or abundance, your RAS begins filtering for opportunities, synchronicities, and exactly the connections you need. Your RAS is not broken. It is perfectly calibrated to your current frequency. The problem is that almost nobody has been taught they can deliberately change what it is calibrated to. Your reticular activating system is the difference between poverty and abundance awareness. And that is where the 3-minute window changes everything. What you are about to hear next will make this click into place in a way that is almost uncomfortable. Now forget everything you have heard about hour-long morning routines. Forget the 90-day manifestation challenges. Forget the elaborate rituals that require perfect conditions and total silence. What I am about to tell you is simpler and more neurologically powerful than any of that. Research into emotional regulation and neurochemical response shows that the brain requires approximately 180 seconds, exactly 3 minutes, of sustained emotional activation to produce a meaningful shift in its baseline neurochemical state. 3 minutes of real embodied emotion changes your brain's chemical default for hours. Not imagined emotion, not performed positivity you put on like a mask. Real, felt, embodied emotion. The kind that produces measurable changes in your heart rate variability, your cortisol levels, and your brain wave coherence. The neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor found that the chemical half-life of any emotion in the body is approximately 90 seconds. That means a wave of fear, anger, or grief, if you do not re-trigger it, actually passes through your system in 90 seconds. But here is what makes 3 minutes so critical. Sustained positive emotion beyond that 90-second mark creates a compounding effect on your neurochemistry that lasts for hours. As the psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Siegel put it, where attention goes, neural firing flows, and neural connection grows. What you hold for 3 minutes, your brain starts to build into its default structure. The question is, how do you actually hold it? Because most people who try collapse within 40 seconds, and the reason why is something you need to hear before anything else works. Here is where the story takes a dark turn, or more accurately, a deeply honest one. Most people who try to raise their frequency fail, not because they are weak, not because the science is wrong, but because they are doing something fundamentally backwards. They are trying to feel good in order to attract something they do not yet have. And that strategy, that one subtle flaw, is the very thing that blocks the frequency from ever stabilizing. Here is why. The moment you feel gratitude in order to get something, your brain registers a signal of absence. It detects the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap is itself a low-frequency emotional state. Wanting and fear feel almost identical in the nervous system. Both signal incompleteness. Both produce cortisol. Both keep your RAS locked in scarcity mode, scanning for what is missing. The research from the Heart Math Institute on heart coherence is critical here. They found that coherent, high-frequency emotional states are only neurologically sustainable when they are not conditional. Not feeling gratitude because you got something, but feeling gratitude as a state of being. Gratitude for existing now, or simply for being alive. Love with no object and no condition attached. This is the frequency that holds, and the reason it holds is not spiritual, it is biological. Unconditional positive emotion does not trigger the reward prediction mechanism that crashes your neurochemistry when the expected reward fails to arrive. Feel grateful for what is, not to attract what might be. What comes next will show you why this changes the entire equation for some people, and why others seem to attract everything effortlessly while doing almost nothing. Let me pause here because this next part changes the entire picture. You know those people who seem to always be in the right place at the right time, who get the call they needed, who meet the right investor by chance, who find the opportunity that was not even publicly available. Most people look at them and assume they are lucky. They are not lucky. They are tuned to a frequency that detects what others filter out. Here is the truth about abundance that nobody tells you. It is not something that comes to you. It is something you finally become neurologically capable of perceiving. Psychologists call a version of this the Baader-Meinhof effect. When your internal state updates, your perception reorganizes itself to match that new state. The opportunities were always present. The connections were always inside your existing network. The ideas were always accessible. but your RAS. Calibrated to scarcity, filtered them out before they ever reached your conscious awareness. This is not metaphor. In a famous experiment at Harvard, subjects asked to count basketball passes completely failed to notice a person in a full gorilla suit walking directly through the scene. Not because the gorilla was hidden, because their attention was locked elsewhere. Your scarcity frequency is the basketball you are counting. The abundance is the gorilla. It is not coming toward you from somewhere else. It is already standing in the middle of your life, waving. And the only thing that has been blocking you from seeing it is the frequency you have been broadcasting. But there is one specific emotion that acts as the master key to unlocking this perception. And what I reveal next about it will permanently change how you start your mornings. Of all the high-frequency emotions available to you, joy, love, or compassion, one stands above the rest as the most neurochemically potent and the most accessible within 3 minutes or less. And that emotion is gratitude, not performed gratitude, not the gratitude you feel obligated to express at social gatherings. I mean visceral, embodied, felt in the chest gratitude that stops time for a second and makes everything else fall away. Real gratitude reorganizes your brain. Neuroscientist Glenn Fox at the University of Southern California ran brain scans on subjects experiencing genuine gratitude and found something remarkable. Gratitude activates the medial prefrontal cortex, the region associated with learning, decision-making, and the perception of reward and possibility. But more critically, it simultaneously deactivates the amygdala, the region that processes fear and threat detection. When you are genuinely grateful, your brain is structurally incapable of simultaneously running a full fear response. The two states are neurologically incompatible. They cannot occupy the same neurochemical space. This is why the practice works, not because the universe rewards good feelings, but because a brain running on gratitude is a physically different brain. It perceives differently, decides differently, and takes different actions, often without the person even consciously choosing to. Gratitude is not a feeling. It is a neurological reconfiguration of what you can see. As the philosopher Meister Eckhart once wrote, "If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough." He did not know neuroscience, but he understood something ancient that science is only now fully proving, and what comes next is the actual method, simpler than anything you have tried before. And yet the exact opposite is also true. Let me explain. Most people do not fail at gratitude because they lack things to be grateful for. They fail because they are trapped inside a neurological loop they cannot even see from the inside. Every time you feel stressed, your body releases cortisol. Cortisol narrows your attention. Narrowed attention finds more things to be stressed about, which releases more cortisol. Stress creates more stress. This is the frequency loop that keeps most people financially and emotionally stuck for decades. And the reason breaking it feels almost impossible is not a character flaw. It is pure biology. Cortisol has a half-life of about 20 minutes in your bloodstream. That means every time you re-trigger a stressful thought, every time you replay the worry, the resentment, the what if, you are resetting a 20-minute chemical clock. You are marinating in stress chemistry for hours every day, and then wondering why you cannot hold a high frequency for 3 minutes straight. Here is what actually breaks the loop. Not willpower, not positive thinking. Pattern interruption followed by sustained emotional redirection for 180 seconds. You need 3 minutes of real emotion to override 20 minutes of cortisol chemistry. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson at the University of North Carolina, who developed the broaden and build theory of positive emotions, found that genuine positive emotional states do not just cancel out negative ones. They actively build new neural resources, new perceptual capability, and new cognitive flexibility. But only when sustained long enough for the chemistry to shift. 40 seconds of forced positivity does nothing. 3 minutes of real, embodied, unconditional feeling, something entirely different happens. Something that connects directly back to what I promised you at the very beginning of this video. And what I am about to reveal is the missing piece that makes everything else finally work. Now what I am about to tell you is the part that most people never reach. And it is the part I want you to share with anyone who thinks manifestation is nonsense. Because what follows is pure, peer-reviewed neuroscience. When you hold a high-frequency emotional state for 3 or more minutes, something happens inside your brain that goes far beyond the neurochemical cascade. Your brain begins to update its predictive model of reality. This is called predictive processing, a framework developed by neuroscientist Carl Friston that has fundamentally revolutionized how we understand the human brain. Your brain is not a passive receiver of reality. Your brain is a prediction machine, and it has been running predictions built in childhood, from scarcity, from fear, from everything you were told you could not have. And here is the revelation, the thing I promised you at the beginning of this video. Those prediction models cannot be updated by intellectual understanding alone. They cannot be updated by affirmations you repeat without feeling anything. They cannot be updated by knowing the right information. It can only be updated by sustained emotional experience, because the brain requires real emotional signal to decide that something is true enough to change its predictions for. 3 minutes of genuine high-frequency emotion is the minimum threshold required to begin updating a predictive model. That is why affirmations fail when recited without feeling. That is why vision boards collect dust. That is why you can know exactly what you should do and still not attract it. Your brain has not received the sustained emotional signal it needs to update its model of what is actually possible for you. The gorilla was always there. The abundance was always there. Now your brain is finally getting the signal that it is real. Do you think this changes everything about how you have been approaching your life? Comment awake below if this just reframed something you have been struggling with for years. I read every single one. So let us bring this home, because everything I have shown you points to one simple, powerful truth. 3 minutes is not a spiritual ritual. It is a neurological reset that changes what reality you can see. You now understand what that means at the deepest level. You understand the RAS. You understand predictive processing. You understand that 3 minutes of sustained, genuine emotion, not performed, not forced, not conditional, can begin to recalibrate what your brain lets into your awareness on a biological level. Here is how you actually do it, not as a spiritual practice, as a neuroscience practice. 1. Pick one thing that produces genuine gratitude. Something real and viscerally felt, not invented. 2. Hold your complete attention on the feeling. Not the thought about the feeling, but the actual feeling. 3. Sustain it for 3 full minutes. Set a timer and do not break contact with the emotion. That is it. No elaborate ritual. No perfect conditions. No hour-long commitment. Because what shifts your predictive model of reality is not the length of the practice. It is the depth of the feeling sustained past that critical 3-minute neurological threshold. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what you vividly feel and what is physically real. That is not a spiritual claim. That is what neuroscientist Antonio Damasio documented in 30 years of research on emotion and consciousness. Feeling is the primary signal the brain uses to construct and update its model of what is real and what is possible. You have been broadcasting a frequency your entire life. Most of it was accidental, inherited, installed by circumstance. Now you choose deliberately. 3 minutes every day. Watch what your brain can finally see. As William James, the father of American psychology, once wrote, "The greatest revolution of our generation is the discovery that human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives." The abundance was never absent. Your brain just needed the right frequency to finally find it, if you made it this far. Comment frequency found below to prove your RAS is already recalibrating, because the people who make it to the end of a video like this, they are not the ones who stay stuck. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know how to reprogram it. The 3-minute frequency practice is not a belief system. It is a biological reality. Your reticular activating system has always been filtering your world. Your predictive brain has always been building its model of what is possible from your dominant emotional state. And that state has always been broadcasting, whether you chose it consciously or not. Now you choose it. 3 minutes of real, unconditional, embodied high-frequency emotion every single day is the neurological threshold that begins to shift what your brain lets into your awareness. The abundance was always here. Your brain just needed the right frequency to finally see it. Commit to the practice. Hold the feeling. Watch what enters your life. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know exactly how to reprogram it.